Welcome to today's webinar, Beyond CSC, How to Jumpstart Your Financial Career. So thank you very much for joining us to today's webinar. My name's Idris Dean. I'm Head of Marketing and Learner Services, and also a member of the management team here at CSI. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Before we get started, I'm going to be covering some important housekeeping items. So the ratings, financial analysis, projections, and other observations considering part of information contained herein are and must be construed solely as statements of opinion and not statements of fact or recommendations to purchase, sell, or hold any securities. We strongly recommend that you speak with a qualified financial advisor regarding your own unique circumstances. We ask that no one record this webinar without Moody's explicit written permission. Lastly, no one has permission to quote any of the comments made or questions asked by the webinar audience. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you will have access to the recording post-webinar. All members of the audience are currently on mute. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, we encourage you to leverage the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We'll do our absolute best to address questions as they come in and integrate them into the webinar. And we ask that you keep your questions as generic as possible, and please avoid any personal or client-specific information. So in today's competitive job market, technical skills alone, they aren't enough. Employers are seeking candidates who can communicate, collaborate, and really adapt effectively. Today's webinar will explore how to complement your entry-level licensing courses with some of these vital skills. A little bit about me. I actually started off as a frontline bank teller, and I worked my way up through licensing and various client-facing roles before actually transitioning into multiple head office positions. My journey really reflects the importance of being able to bridge technical know-how with broader skills. And I was really fortunate enough to learn from people throughout my journey. And I'd really like to be able to pass this information on to all of you to really help you navigate through your own respective career journeys. Today's webinar will cover a couple of key points. One being the shift in job expectations towards communication and adaptability, blending technical expertise with essential skills. And we have two people on this webinar. They're industry leaders, Riyad Salam and Rui Barreto. So without further ado, I'd really like to introduce both Rui and Riyad, who will be your primary webinar hosts for today's session. So I'll pass it over to you, Rui, to kick things off.
Thank you, Idris, and thank you everyone for joining us today. Especially Idris, thank you for sharing your story. I think what we're going to discuss and what you're going to hear from Riyad is that there's two different approaches. There's folks that stay within the financial services industry and maintain their career growth within that space. And then there's somebody like Idris who basically took his banking career and his banking expertise and was able to kind of look at roles that expanded beyond the financial firm. And so the goal of this presentation is really just to kind of keep your options open and think beyond what is it that you're looking at today. Where do you see your career in 5 years, and where do you see your career in 10 years? Joining me for this conversation is Riyad Salam. I've known Riyad for a number of years. Riyad is the National Director of Client Segment Strategies, Healthcare and Business Services at RBC. He'll be discussing with us his career journey, similar to what Idris shared, but from a different perspective. Next slide, please. In our discussion today, we will be discussing career opportunities in the financial services industry, what employers are looking for beyond licensing, and what to expect as you enter the financial services industry. Finally, for the question period, as mentioned, we invite you to submit your questions throughout the duration of the webinar. We have allocated ample time at the conclusion of the presentation specifically for addressing your questions. Any questions that we are unable to address during the live session will be collected and answered after the presentation is concluded. If I can get the next slide. Starting There's a little bit of lag on my side, so I apologize. The financial services industry is a vast and dynamic sector that encompasses a wide range of roles, each catering to different skill sets and interests, whether you're drawn to numbers, technology, customer service, or strategic planning. There's a role for you in the industry. Now, that being said, in the competitive landscape of the job market, landing that job or growing your career requires careful considerations of various factors. Today, we'll focus on how licensing and complementary skills play a vital role in the financial services industry. Things we will cover in this presentation include what career opportunities does the financial service industry offer, and where can new entrants begin their job search. Next slide. Licensing is a fundamental aspect of the financial services industry. Obtaining relevant licensing demonstrates your commitment and understanding of the industry regulations. It opens doors to specific roles that require compliance with legal and regulatory standards. But while licensing is critical, it's essential to go beyond and develop complementary skills. What are complementary skills? Complementary skills enhance your value and versatility in the workplace. Some skills to consider include communication skills. Effectively conveying complex financial concepts to clients and colleagues is extremely important. In this new virtual world, you should expect that your first meeting with a recruiter will occur over a virtual interview. Communicating effectively is one key point they will be taking from your meeting as confirmation of your capabilities to build rapport with their clients. You also have to have good problem-solving skills. You should expect to receive questions that focus on analyzing market trends and proposing innovative solutions to clients and dealing with situations, whether it's in the financial services industry or a past employer experience where you've had to kind of involve some problem-solving skills to address a solution with an individual or a client. Another great skill set is technology proficiency. You need to be up to date on what is going on with digital tools and digital platforms that are being used in the industry. A key thing to have in your resume is experience with platforms that the banks themselves use. So if a bank is using a particular financial planning piece of software, understanding the basics or the foundations of those kind of technologies is a huge enhancement on your resume. And the most important skill set that I will tell you that you need to have is adaptability. Embracing changes in the industry and continuously learning. I can promise you things we do today will change tomorrow. Financial firms increasingly value candidates who bring more than just licensing to the tables. You'll hear more about that in our discussion with Riyad as we kind of progress through these discussions. But these 4 points are just basic items that you should think of. Having just a resume that says that I've completed an educational certificate or an educational degree is not enough. These systems that the banks use are taking keywords within your resume and looking for people with experiences that are just beyond licensing. Licensing will get you to the top of the pile of resumes. These additional skills will actually increase you further up in that pile. Next slide. Now, for those of you that haven't had a chance to visit our website, I would encourage you to do so. csi.ca/career maps. There is a vast amount of information within this web link that will not only tell you about the roles or the different pillars of the banking system or the financial service system, but will actually give you a more granular bit of information that tells you things such as salaries you can expect. What are your responsibilities if I were to be in this role? To kind of help you navigate where you kind of see yourself in the world of banking. That's what this site, if you visit the site, will kind of give you as far as details. I'm going to go through the 4 different pillars that you see here on the screen. I'm going to start with the bottom one, which is retail banking, and then I'm going to move my conversation around the wheel, and then hopefully at the end formalize some thoughts as to where you might see yourself within the financial services industry. And again, we encourage you to visit the csi.ca/career maps for additional information beyond what I'm going to share. So if we start at the bottom with retail banking, Retail banking is also known as consumer banking. It focuses on providing financial services directly to individuals and small businesses. It's the branch of banking that most people are familiar with. The primary goal of retail banking is to serve the general public's financial needs. This includes day-to-day banking services such as savings, checking accounts, personal loans, credit cards, mortgages, and other retail-oriented products. Retail bankers interact directly with customers, helping them manage their money, achieve their financial goals, and address their banking-related inquiries. Moving to the middle office, which is just to the left of retail banking. The middle office is the central hub that supports both the front office, customer-facing activities, and the back office, the operational and administrative functions. It plays a crucial role in ensuring smooth operations of risk management within the bank. The middle office is responsible for tasks such as trade verification, transactions processing, risk assessment, compliance monitoring, and reporting. It acts as a bridge between the customer-focused activities and the operational back end of the bank. It ensures accuracy, compliance, and efficiency. Going now to the top middle pillar of the bank, institutional and corporate banking. They focus on providing financial services to large corporations, institutions, and government entities. This unit deals with complex financial transactions and tailored banking solutions that cater to the unique needs of these entities. Services offered by institutional and corporate banking include corporate loans, treasury and cash management, investment banking, mergers and acquisitions advisory, foreign exchange services, and trade financing. The relationships that are established in this area often involve higher value transactions and very much specialized financial expertise. And then finally, the back office. The bank back office, sometimes referred to as the operations or support functions, handles the administration and operational tasks that are essential for the bank's day-to-day functioning. The unit ensures that transactions are processed accurately, records are maintained, and compliance within the regulatory standard is met. Back office functions include tasks like account maintenance, data entry, transaction reconciliation, record keeping, IT support, and often include compliance, legal, and human resource functions as well. While less visible to customers, the back office is vital for the overall efficiency and integrity of the bank's operations. Now, again, these are the 4 pillars that we are displaying here. As you visit our website, we go into a much more granular focus. So when you click on retail banking, you'll be able to see the multiple different roles within banking. So what is a teller? What is a personal banker? What is a bank manager? What is a mortgage specialist? We dive into a little bit more granular areas. The reason why I wanted to kind of focus on the 4 pillars and not dive so deeply into the different roles is because I'm hoping that folks who are joining us on this call, if you are not part of a financial services program, or you have a background in IT, you can also still consider the financial services as a great opportunity to secure a career within the banking world or in the financial services world. Next slide. Now we come to the part of the presentation that I'm most excited about, my conversation with Riyad. Riyad has been in the industry for a number of years, as you will hear from him. He entered the world of banking by starting in a junior role and navigated an incredible career to land in his current role as a national director of client segments, healthcare and business services for RBC. Riyad, your career, your timeline is a testament to the power of resilience, learning, and growth. And we're eager to learn about how you navigated the financial services industry to get into the role that you're in today. Can you walk us through your journey, highlight things that you did that helped you get to the next role on your career map, more importantly, starting with your pre-RBC time?
Thank you, Rui. Pleasure to be here. I think the pre-RBC time was really crucial. I came to Canada as an international student, went to a university within Ontario, came from a completely different culture. So the adaptation that you have referred to was really at the very early stage of my life in Canada. I had to kind of really adapt to the society, to the culture, everything that you can think of. So coming to a different land all by yourself, establishing that period, within that period of time, was really interesting. It was fun, it was challenging, and it was definitely a lots of learning from my part. So after my graduation, when I moved to Toronto, then the actual struggle, lack of better words, started, because at that time there was no what you may call it, the work permit that one needs to have. Basically, the situation was you need to have a work offer to get a work permit. So which has changed now, which is awesome for any international student or for anybody who studied in Canada. I believe they get a work permit right after their graduation. I think there is some specification as to how many years the educational program needs to be. But anyway, at that time it was not there. So I really had to kind of go out in the market, go out there on the road, knocking the door, apply as many positions as possible, really focusing on my resume, learn that every position requires tweaking of your experience and the skill. And at that time I didn't have any experience. So really honing on what I have done in terms of focusing on the skill sets that I could demonstrate if I'm given an opportunity is all I could focus on. So again, I mean, I was lucky to get an opportunity to get in the bank right after my permanent residency was completed, and I took a very strategic decision to can I start as close as possible to our clients. And I intentionally chose that role because I felt that I'll be able to learn a lot by being at the front line. So started there, enjoyed interacting with the clients in various different roles within personal banking. Opportunity came up. Of course, I had to kind of build my own brand within the organization, had to work hard and really create a social system around myself. Got an opportunity to lead a branch, and we call it a brand new branch we had to establish. So that's where I get a little bit of entrepreneurial opportunity. And then from there on, I moved to commercial banking, where I, got an opportunity to work with the business owners. And that was a great experience all by itself. I mean, working with our business owners, understanding their vision, their challenges, it really opened up, a really brand new world for me, how the business owners think about their own businesses. Which was actually a pillar for me in many ways to really understand our own business. And that experience was critical. With that experience in my mind, I came back to manage a larger branch. And that really helped me because, I was able to not look at the business from a micro standpoint, but really look at the holistic understanding of the business. and that really helped me to run a larger branch or an area in my later years. And then when I look at my own skill inventory, I found that, okay, you know what, I have number of years that I've spent interacting with clients, understanding the products, the pricing, the promotion of the solutions that we offer. I got good in creating or business development. I mean, developing business, either it's in business banking or in personal banking, or running various different branches within the market. So I got that piece done. And then when I look into my skill sets, then I found that maybe there is an opportunity to really understand how to take myself 3,000 above the ground and really understand how the banking work. not necessarily a small component of the business banking or personal banking or the branch or the commercial banking, but really understand how do we kind of look at various different puzzles and connect it together. And moving to somewhere in national office where I'll be able to work on strategies, not necessarily looking at short-term result, but really look at long-term aspect of planning, really excited, kind of excite me. So, and I felt that is something that is missing in my experience and the skills. So I really wanted to kind of take myself out of my comfort zone. And I wanted to say that, okay, you know what, I'm raising my hand for an opportunity, challenge me. If I fail, I want to fail fast. And if need be, we can do other things. But in taking that type of risk throughout my career journey, if you really look at the progression, I have taken, I would say, educated risk. But the goal was to kind of take myself out of the comfort zone. And as soon as I felt that, okay, you know what, I'm really good at it, it did not excite me anymore. Okay, I'm good at it. What is next? I mean, how can I challenge myself? Not necessarily looking at the compensation or the incentive, but really, really deep down looking at my core skill set and enhance my capability in a way so that I'm well-rounded, not necessarily in one aspect of the game. And hey, I mean, somebody else's career is going to be completely different than myself, and that is probably strategic. Somebody wanted to really wanted to get great in wealth management, and there is nothing wrong with it. I mean, you can learn all the aspect of wealth management and how you can help your clients, and that could be your 35, 40 years career span, and that's perfectly all right. But again, for me, I wanted to kind of travel around various different businesses. I wanted to learn. I wanted to challenge myself. And that's why I kind of took the risks sometimes. I don't know, maybe sometimes it was naive, but hey, it worked out.
No. And if I can just kind of share my experience, because I've known Riyadh for a number of years, and we worked together from 2004 to about 2010. And I have a background in IT. My purpose of getting into the bank was slightly different, but it basically all took the same shape. My background is in IT. I started as a personal banker. So I worked my way with the clients. I found that I actually enjoyed working with the clients. And then as I kind of started becoming successful, and you're going to hear about Idris talking about building your brand, the one thing I found is that your brand, once it starts getting built, it starts getting recognized. And sometimes your career just happens just from the success that you're able to generate when you're in the role. Now, I took a slightly different path. I did the management piece, but right around 2000, Riyadh's slide here on 2009, 2010, I took a different approach. I went from personal banking to financial planning to management. Then I went to mortgage specialist and became a little bit of self-employed, still working within Royal Bank. But then in 2010, I decided to expand, take my experiences, and I applied for a job at Moody's, which Moody's is the parent company to CSI. And so similar to Riyadh, I thought, let's explore. The great thing about being in the financial services industry is you can explore. You can look at different roles in different areas. You can be in marketing one day, be in head office working on strategy the next, or you may want to decide to work in automation and figure out how to do the processing of transactions, working in that back office. So my approach was slightly different. From 2010, I joined Moody's CSI. I was a subject matter expert where I kind of worked on content in the areas of financial planning, mortgage lending, moved into strategy where I was working on the book of retail banking strategic initiatives. And then I moved over into sales where I'm now the director of business development. What I'm going to do is I would like to ask Idris, I don't know, Idris, if you want to turn your camera on and maybe tell us about your journey, because it kind of started the same and then your path also changed slightly from mine and Riyadh's.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I mentioned, I actually started my career while I was in university. I went and worked at a department store uh, and actually was working in shipping and receiving, loading trucks with dishwashers and and other appliances. And uh, I started applying to different call centers, and really at the time that was the only thing I was able to get. And I made the best of it in terms of, learning more about uh, what customer service is, putting the client first. And, I interacted with different people who are picking up different appliances. And then from there, I spent a little bit of time uh, on customer support at the department store. It was called Sears at the time. And then that really gave me a chance to showcase on my resume that I have experience in customer service, specifically around soft skills, which is very important. Uh, and then I started applying again back to different call centers within the banks. And I did end up seeing a role at one of the banks for a bank teller job. And the bank teller job was, handling day-to-day transactions for customers, right? So I applied to that role and I got an interview. And honestly, I probably applied to over 100 jobs before getting that, right? So it's not easy. Like I know that, you know, uh, people think that, just getting a licensing course is enough for me to start a career in banking and financial services, right? So I just wanted to reinforce, that it's not very easy at the beginning. Like you really need to spend some time to work on demonstrating that you have good interpersonal skills, communication skills, really network and meet different people, right? So I was fortunate enough to get an entry level teller job, and then from there I got a better understanding of the banking industry as a whole, interacted with different clients, met different people working in the banks, and then I realized that it's something that I want to do. And then I came across uh, what's required to take the next step in banking, which would be account management. Different banks have different roles, but specifically around, I think, financial services representative is one of the roles where it's an entry level, which requires you to obtain either the Canadian Securities course or the Investment Funds in Canada course, which allows you to work as a licensed rep to deal in mutual funds and provide basic advice to people on, what type of accounts to open, how to save for your future, if you need, lending products, etc. Right? So I navigated through that, and I became a financial services representative. And then from there, I became a senior financial services representative. And then it really hit me at that point in time that I needed to make a decision now on whether I wanted to continue in the customer facing, client facing roles, uh, or if I wanted to do something else. And I really wanted to make a difference in the way that the bank that I was working at the time was able to serve clients. So then honestly, I just started networking with different people, both at the branch level, but also got in touch with people in the head office space, right? I asked people, okay, well, who are all the people who are responsible to implement changes and strategies to provide a better experience for our customers? I'm sure many of you see uh different banks are implementing new technologies to make it easier for people to do their day-to-day banking, right? So from there, I probably met with, I don't know, maybe like close to 50 people uh, who was able to guide me to say, okay, Idris, if you want to continue in the branch client-facing space, you need to do additional licensing and certificates. But if you want to help make a difference to the way that banks have different processes and all that, then there's a different path that you can take around business analytics or project management, right? So I explored different options, and I came across there was a pilot program that the bank at the time was doing to move to a more self-serve model, and focusing more on advice. So I got a unique opportunity to work as a contractor consultant to help with some of these changes at the branch level. And then I made the best of it, and I learned about, you know, how it is to really work in the head office space and drive change to the front line. And I navigated through there, and then I ended up doing a couple roles in head office, in business analysis and project management and program management. And then I was able to do different initiatives at the bank level, and one of those initiatives was around enabling frontline advisors to be able to serve their clients better, specifically around financial advice and financial planning and accreditation. And from there, you know, an opportunity presented itself to work here at CSI and Moody's. And now I'm here today, right? So honestly, it's a lot of hard work. I would say don't give up. Like, keep networking with people, reach out to people on LinkedIn, reach out to people that you know who've entered the industry, right? It's not easy, but it's definitely attainable. So I mean, that's my advice for everyone there. I mean, if you have any questions specifically around my career journey, or just, you know, if you're stuck anywhere, not knowing what next steps to take in terms of, you know, how to go about reaching out to someone, what courses to take, you know, you can put some questions in the chat here. I can do my best to answer it. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. But, you know, the goal of these webinars is really to help you figure out, you know, the pathway that works for you, and really help you overcome all the challenges that exist today in a very competitive market for employment. So, you know, really happy to help, and really wish all of you the best of luck during your journeys. I mean, everyone's going to have their own unique journey. No two people's journeys are going to be the same. So that's really my story there, really.
No, thank you, Jason. And you know what, the one thing I got from both your description, Riyad's description, and I think my experience, is that soft skills component, being able to build rapport. Think about when you attend a party, right? The person you want to talk to is somebody that you feel comfortable connecting with. Being able to carry that conversation throughout the evening. Now imagine you're on an interview with a recruiter, and you're communicating, but all you're doing is just addressing the questions that are being asked. There's no rapport building. It creates an idea of whether or not the individual that you're meeting with is going to feel comfortable putting you in front of their clients. So taking that skill set, both Riyad and Idris pointed out networking. It is very important to network. That is also a huge component when you're in the industry that you have to continue to maintain, whether it's internal, whether you're in the client-facing side, or whether or not you just want to advance your career and want to learn about the different areas of the bank. It's all to do with more than just licensing. Licensing may get you to the top of that resume pile, but it's all of that ability to communicate, network, and have people tell, you know, other individuals about your brand, as you're going to hear from Riyad. With that, we're going to move to the next question. So Riyad, what are some challenges that people can expect as they navigate a career in the financial services industry? Obviously, there's the challenge getting into the industry, and then there's that challenge in the middle. I'm in the job. I have 2 years in which to kind of do what I need to do to get recognized. What are some of the recommendations that you can provide to the folks on this call?
Great question. So I think what we are focusing here is when you are already in and you are kind of mapping your career, you're progressing within the organization. I think, to me, there are two things that come to my mind. One is lack of clarity, and that lack of clarity is basically me as an individual, as an employee of the organization. So any bank in Canada is a large organization, and it has got, to your point, the first slide that you have shown, the retail, the commercial, the corporate, the capital market, the insurance, the head office, the marketing. I mean, I can go on and on, kind of telling you, where you can potentially work. So when somebody comes in the bank as a new employee, let's say they get their fit on the in the company, and they're working for a couple of years. It may not be very clear in terms of what my career path is going to be in the beginning, and it's very normal, it's very natural, and there is nothing wrong with it, because that's how it is, unless you have given it a pre-thought and you really like wealth management or credit and the clients, or you like marketing, or you are in IT, that okay, this is exactly where I want to go. So that lack of clarity in the beginning delays the process of moving from one place to another, I feel. So gaining the clarity sooner rather than later probably is going to be a good practice. And I'm not saying that you really need to be determined that, okay, this is what my career path is going to be. What I'm trying to say is gain clarity around various different roles earlier in the game. Understand what an investment advisor does versus a financial planner who works in the branch. Understand what a private banker does compared to Dominion Security or a brokerage house. What are the differences? Understand the commercial banking and the capital market. So get clarity on various different roles earlier in the game can be quite helpful to determine where you want to go. So that's one. And then the second piece under the clarity that I feel is, okay, I see there's a private banker. Oh, I understand that's an awesome role. I've seen Rui as a financial planner. He was a very stylish financial planner. I love the way he talks, the way he dances with the client, the car that he drives, and Rui is my role model. Okay, so I get it. So you want to be a financial planner, but then the question is, what are the skills and the experiences that you need to become a financial planner? What are the accreditations that you require to get into that job, to land to that job, to compete for the role? As Rui mentioned, that getting into the organization in one challenge, and then being successful in that organization in various different roles, and sustain your career through long term, or switch in various different organizations, that's not a problem, but stay in the game is another challenge. So what I'm trying to explain here is how you can compete for your dream role is going to be something that you need to learn sooner rather than later. So I think that clarity pillar can help you to overcome some of the challenges that may delay your move from one role to another, or one segment to the other. So that's one. The second challenge that many have faced, including myself, I'm no different, is being able to articulate your brand and create a support around your own brand, right? And we talk about value proposition of a bank, of an organization, of an institution, but we sometimes don't even think about our own value proposition. What do I bring on the table? Can I articulate it, and can I make it an elevator pitch that in less than 1 minute I will be able to say why you should be a friend with Riyadh, right? What is the differentiation that I'm going to be making in your life? So that's that. And then once you have identified your value proposition or your brand, are you able to get advocates around you, champions around yourselves that are going to raise hand for you and say, you know what, I have worked with Rui and I understand that he's a very hardworking guy, and he's honest, and he will go extra mile. So you know what, Rui is a good choice. And without even asking them, they are going to be championing for you, with or without your presence. And that's the most important thing. I mean, in front of you, it's easy to praise. Okay, you know what? Yeah, Rui is great. But when Rui is not in the room, what am I talking about? And that talks about your brand and your ability to socialize. And I think Idris mentioned about networking, internal and external. I think that's what I'm referring to. So once you have clarity about the role and about the skills and the experience that you need to have to compete for that role, and if you have enough support that you have created around your own brand, I think you can leave 5% to luck or chance, and 95% you can say that, okay, you know what, I have done everything that I'm supposed to do to move on. And I think your success rate is going to be higher.
Yeah, Riyad, thank you. You're absolutely correct. There's obviously things that we want and that we look at and that we say, that's what I want. But to your point, there comes a period where you have to have the skills and experience. And then you also have to have that support group that when you do apply, that they are putting their hands up and saying, to your point, when you're not in the room, that this is the best choice to fulfill this role. And so how do you do that? It all comes down to that whole conversation of networking, but also creating that technical knowledge that accompanies with that soft skills. And again, building that brand, right? When you're not in the room, to exactly what Riyad said, are people saying that, you know, this is a great person, this is somebody we want to work with, or are they not saying anything at all? And the most scariest and the most deafening noise is when they're not saying anything, right? Your name's not coming up into conversations. And that becomes that brand that you have to kind of establish, and do it sooner than later. Because you will find in the world of financial services, promotions come to those who may not even be looking for a promotion. You get tapped on the shoulder, they like who you are, they like your brand, and you get promoted without even asking for a job. And that happens regularly, but you do have to have that brand. Riyad, the next question for you. What are some of the effective strategies individuals can use to position themselves for success in their career journeys? In the face of a competitive job market, how can new entrants proactively enhance their skill sets to stand out and secure promising opportunities? I'm also going to include not just people looking to get into the industry, but also people who are already in the industry, because you've made quite a few points about what happens when you're already here.
Thanks for that, Rui. You know, I thought about this, and you know, I always believe in coming up with some sort of framework when a question is being asked, so that it can be repeatable, and people can actually use this process map in their head to kind of give it some thought, and hopefully get somewhere with this, right? So again, going back to that desired role that you have, right? I think that's what you need to identify, that, okay, I want to be a banker, I want to be a strategist, I want to be a IT professional, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a mortgage specialist, or whatever that is. You know, once you have, and do that sooner rather than later, to your point. I think that's important. Once you identify that dream role, then really understanding what you need to get there. What are the skill sets? So let's say I want to be a leader in a financial organization. Okay, so then I have to really dissect the leader's capability and the skills that what makes you a great leader. And you know, understanding those skills, that, okay, you know what, am I going to be the leader who is going to be a role model, or am I going to be a coach who is going to be coaching on the sideline, and I'm not going to be playing in the field? Right? So there are various different methodologies and thinking process that you may develop in terms of, you know, how how great leaders are. There are two types of leaders. I mean, who are in the game and who are in the sideline providing coaching. So both of them are great, right? So really understand that. Once you kind of dissect the skill sets and the qualities that you require, what I suggest to look into yourself. So, for example, I'm going to give an example of what I have done when I was a personal banker. So, okay, I'm good with clients when the clients are in front of me, right? The client walks in and they need to see a banker. Here I am available. And when I'm in front of a client, I'm really good at it. Then what I realized that, I have to hone on the skills when I don't have clients in front of me. That means I need to be able to pick up the phone and still be able to articulate the value that I can bring either over the phone or in a public format. So that means that I needed to focus on the skill sets of articulating when I don't have an audience in front of me. I'm able to do it virtually, either telephone call or in some other way that I can communicate. So that's one very specific skill sets that you can think of. When I ran a branch, I was looking at, okay, you know what, micromanaging is easy. I mean, you basically get your people to do various different tasks, and you go and ask, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Or you can be a leader who believes in the employees and trust them. How can you become a servant leader rather than a leader who always gives you tasks and actually micromanages you? So that's another skill set that I wanted to develop when I got an opportunity to run a branch. That, okay, I don't want to be called as a micromanager. I want to be a leader who the people will look up to as a leader who trusts and believe. And I want to create people who are self-motivated to do what we need to do, right? So that could be another skill set that you can think of. So now that you have identified your role model, the skill sets, and you have also looked into yourself on the existing skills that you have and the skills that you want to develop, now you have got a good understanding of, okay, you know what, I want to develop my active listening skill, because this active listening skill is going to be helping me to be a good leader, right? So it's not that, oh, I want to develop this skill because I feel like. Okay, you can do that too, not a problem. But what I'm trying to say, that you are able to connect the dots in a meaningful way, that here's a skill that I want to be good at. I want to develop this because I want to do this, so that your statement is clear. So that's one. And I believe that is the 80% of the work. Once you have identified what skill that you want to work on and why you want to do it, you have given it enough thought to make you self-motivated, in lack of better words, right? And then what I would say, that once you have identified those opportunities, share it publicly. Don't shy away saying that, Rui, I am working on be a better communicator by being an active listener. So I'm actually working on my active listening skill. The reason I want to say that you make it public, because as soon as you make it public, guess what happened? Now you are holding yourself accountable to make progress on that skill, because you have declared that you want to be a better person and you don't have any other choice other than getting better at it, right? So you are basically taking ownership. You are holding yourself accountable to move towards that skill. And then you can think of various different ways. You can observe who is better at it. You have got various different role models that you can think of, how they're walking, how they're talking, what are the things that they're doing. You can observe, you can read, you can practice, You can look for internal and external mentorship, the support. And it doesn't have to be always from your organization. You can always reach out. And believe you me, in my last almost 20 years of career, I have never encountered a no when I said, I need help. Okay. All I had to do is ask for help. Well, I mean, if I say I need help because I need a job, that's a different help. But if I say that, hey, Rui, I'm working on this interpersonal skill that I really need to develop, and you are my role model, my friend. I really like the way you handle the client's objection. I want to learn from you. Can you help me? I can guarantee you nobody is going to say, no, I don't have time for you. Right? So I think I just wanted to kind of give this framework rather than give you examples. And I hope that you take this framework of process and utilize it in building your skills and hopefully challenge yourself and make yourself accountable to get better at it. I hope that helps.
No, that was great. And you know what, I too am starting to kind of create that focus of listening more, talking less, and observing. There's a lot of successful people who we all know. Warren Buffett, as an example, has got to where he got through all of this hard work. But a lot of times and often people don't step back and look at how he got there. They just see where he is and they know that they want to get there. And so having a mentor, observing, researching, figuring out who has my dream job and how do I connect with them and ask them how they got there. For $2 and half an hour of a coffee with somebody in the industry who's got that job, that ideal job that you want, is not expensive. For the amount of advice you're going to get for $2, it's worth the time. And as Riyad pointed out, there are people who will share their time with you if you ask. With that being said, let's move to our question period as we are getting to the top of the hour. So Riyad, I've got some questions, and I'm just going to kind of ask you, and you, Idris, if you need to pop in, please also pop in. One of the first questions is that there is an individual who's asking for thoughts on how do they kind of manage two different opportunities. So they're currently working in the bank, but they've also been approved into an MBA program. And so the question is, do I maintain the role and work through my MBA while still working at the bank? Or do I disconnect, focus on the MBA, and then come back?
Should I attempt that? Or sorry, is that for Idris?
It's for both of you. If you want to, Idris, do you want to start? And maybe we'll give.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I could answer that. Honestly, it all depends on what you're looking to get out of it. I mean, me personally, I did my MBA part-time while working a full-time job. So it depends on how much time you can allocate, what your school schedule looks like. And I mean, what I've found with the MBA and how it differs from a traditional undergraduate degree is that the MBA is more case-based, right? So the MBA really focuses on a lot of application in the real world. So, I mean, at least for me, during my MBA, I was able to take real problems that I face in my 9-to-5 normal job and then leverage some of the learnings there. So, I mean, if I were to go back and do it again, I would do the same thing. Like I do my best to stay in the role, unless you're looking for a complete career shift. Like, I mean, it all depends on how much time you can allocate if the program commands a full-time schedule, right? So, I mean, those are decisions that you'll have to make. And I would recommend reaching out to, your current hiring manager, reaching out to HR, talking about, what career prospects look like for me. Maybe you can shift from a full-time role to a part-time role while you're in school, right? So it all depends on each individual's unique circumstance. Riyad, you want to add to that?
No, I think you have articulated it really well. And I have done my exec MBA while working full-time as well. So I can relate to you. But to your point, if it is not a complete shift, I think it's better to kind of do together if you can do it. But again, it's a personal choice at the end of the day.
Can I ask you both the question? Do you find that completing your MBA, leveraging that MBA, and letting your employer know is a value or a benefit to growing your career?
I think I can quickly touch on that. I mean, if you are taking a major educational decision like that in the middle of your your career, I would assume that your employer already knows before going in to MBA. So it's not going to be the after the fact, and all of a sudden you will come and talk to your manager that, hey, now I have an MBA. So I think the process starts in the beginning, and I think in terms of the assessment process, that is the MBA going to add value? That needs to be understood and discussed early as well. Am I going to spend X amount of dollars in doing my MBA? Is it going to add value? Is your employer going to support your move? Do they think that the MBA is actually going to add value in your skill inventory to progress and be able to do certain jobs that you're looking for? So I think the process of analyzing why MBA and how MBA is going to help you to move on in your career needs to start early and not later or in the game.
And last question, and then again, we will take any questions that weren't addressed and provide them after the webinar. The last question is what do you say to people who have continuously applied for roles, primarily in the financial services industry, but are not getting the responses that they're hoping for? And some of those responses is how do I even get an interview? I've applied 100 times, but I'm not getting the success.
Yeah, and I think the first response that I'm going to give you is, don't feel bad, and you're not alone. But really understand, why are you not getting a response? Is it your resume? Is there something missing? Can you make the presentation a little bit better? Are you using the right vocabulary in the resume? And if so, and if you're still not getting, then the question would be, how do I build my external network within the bankers community? Maybe perhaps that will enhance the opportunity. Maybe if Idris is going to say to his previous employer that, hey, I've got a candidate, you should be looking into this resume. And I don't know if that happens anymore in this centralized world of technology. I think now it's all centralized. But again, maybe talking to bankers, maybe doing, change your resume, expanding on your experience, how you have spent time with bankers. Maybe have that sessions and build that network will probably increase the possibility. But I will start with the content of your resume. How does your presentation look like? What are the words that you're using? What are the vocabulary that you're using? How you are aligning your experience, your highlights, and your education, connecting the dots with the job that you're applying. If you have applied 100 different roles with the same resume, I can tell you, my friend, there is work that needs to be done on your resume.
Yeah. Thank you, Riyad. And I fully agree. If it's not working the first time, review, restructure, rebuild, and refocus. With that being said, we have got to the top of the hour. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And I want to thank Riyad and Idris for providing their feedback and thoughts in this session. Please visit us at csi.ca and our career map space, and continue to connect with us on any further questions. Thank you. And with that, the webinar is concluded.